So I was reading Malcolm Gladwell's book, Tipping Point, and I thought it was just a very interesting novel as it talked about how ideas and how they go viral. And I mean, if you think about how small, sometimes very unseemingly disconnected events and how, you know, they add up to just basically, you know, blow up, and how ideas blow up, and how, you know, it could be a fad or whatever. And I just thought that was, you know, that was pretty interesting.
Actually, you told me about the book, right?
Yeah.
What was
yeah.
it?
It must have been him. I haven't read it all the way through. I read the abstract.
So you read the abstract? Yeah, take the easy way out, right?
There you go.
No, I actually. So I actually took a reading to the book, and I thought it was a fabulous book as well. A couple of things I was in disagreement with, but for the most part, as far as he caught my peak of interest when he kind of discussed the fact that. You know, certain events, what causes certain events to become more popular than others?
I think the term he uses is epidemic.
Epidemic. Absolutely.
Epidemic.
Kind of like the epidemic of Facebook over MySpace. What caused Facebook to grow into this 900 million users and MySpace kind of go dwindling away?
He talked about just how it doesn't take a lot of people to start something like this. He mentioned 3 characteristics. The connector, which the connector is the one who networks out. The maven is the one who carries a lot of the knowledge and the detail behind it. And then the salesman, the one that goes out and sells us and gets the product out there. Now, he also mentioned that it's not necessarily 3 individual people, but that only maybe 1 or 2 people, as long as they carry those major characteristics, can create an epidemic, which creates a tipping point. So that's pretty good knowledge for not having read the whole book.
No, that's very good. You didn't have to say you didn't read I mean, since you took the easy way out,
the Cliff Notes works.
Sure, the Cliff Notes works. Right? But no, so my question is, how can we, as individuals, as individual young professionals, apply that book and those values into our lives? Those are some of the things that I question. Anytime I read an article or a book or I watch a news, how can I apply that to myself? How can I grow as an individual, as a young professional? So I think on that standpoint where you said he has the connector and then the maven, right? You know, how can...
What was the other one?
The salesman.
So I read the book, and
I read the abstract.
So I'll read the abstract next time. Right.
Yeah,
so,
you should.
How can I apply that to myself? How can I be the connector to Maven as well as the
how
salesman?
can you just apply it to Jaynect as itself? I mean, we're still a group that it's within its infancy stage. We're getting out there. We're doing outreach, but it's all about finding your target, and then from there building on that. And so taking into account those 3 characteristics, and that's what's going to spread the word and create an audience and create an epidemic, which then comes therefore a tipping point.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you know, to that point, basically to both of you guys' point. Anytime I read like a biography, you know, you think about those 3 people that you actually need, like someone very, you know, famous, so that's done extraordinary things. Like take, you know, the guy that recently passed, Steve Jobs, for instance. It's always interesting to me that a lot of times the thing that they actually thought they were going to create actually wasn't, you know, what
the end result, right?
The end result. And so, you know, when you talk about epidemics and tipping points and just how that works, I think that there's a bit of a mysticism to it. You know, I mean, just how things happen, the anatomy of how things happen. You know, because, you know, you go in there, you say, okay, we're gonna create this one thing, and then from there you're just like, okay, that's not working, and then, oh yeah, hey, we noticed this, and then who knows this, and you continue to work at it. And
Creates a life of its
and
own.
it creates a life of its
So
own.
do you think this is luck? Do you think this is by design? And
I
I know
think
you
it's
said it takes a life of its own, but what are the intangibles that takes place?
All those three things that he talked about were there in that case, and I think the same thing with Steve Wozniak and Bill Gates. I mean, all those key components. I mean, a guy, basically sold an idea to where you had a better salesperson. He was also a brilliant guy too. That maven, that guy had the knowledge. Bill Gates, and then they got the connector in there, the guy with the connections, and then throughout time, that thing happened. Now you go back to the 1970s. This thing actually alluded to another book that Malcolm G. Gladwell had wrote. At that time, with mainframe computing and things like that, no one would have thought that these guys were onto anything. Personal computing, it was kind of like one of those things like, get out of here. Are you serious?
Yeah.
But they had all of the pieces together. And I think that kind of speaks to what the Jaynect Group or any organization, if you have those pieces, you stick with it, and that epidemic can kind of
and
occur.
it creates just not trying to tie it back into Facebook,
Sure.
but I mean Facebook started out as just on Harvard's campus, and then it spread to just being on college campuses. I remember back in about 2004, 2005 when I created my page,
Sure.
you had to have a valid college email address.
I remember that.
To enroll in, and then from now, look at it.
Evolved into something
and that's
that he
not
did
what
not
his
expect.
original idea was.
Sure.
But because of the way it ended up working out, I mean, I'm sure he never foresaw.
So
Okay,
is it timing?
I
it's a
think
lot of
timing
different things.
timing plays a big part in it, but you have to have passion. You have to have passion behind your product, and you have to be willing to see it innovate within itself. And so you have to be willing to be flexible with it and allow other people's input and just see where it grows. I mean, you never know unless you try. There may be some avenues that you take that may end up not working, but you scale back. Just like with the story of Apple, there were some computers that came out that didn't do quite as well.
Sure.
But overall, they're still a major success.
So,
And it's crazy. And, before and I really want you to talk, but what Steve Jobs said, the thing that did it for him, a class he took in calligraphy. They gave him the aesthetic appeal on how he actually was. That was his print. When he basically, dropped out of college and he started auditing classes. And he said, I like calligraphy. I'm going to take this calligraphy classes. And that was the thing that he imprinted. That was the brand that he actually brought to Apple. Isn't that crazy? I mean, who would have thought? Basically, this guy looks like a bum, essentially. I mean, he drops out of school. He looks, you think about a 70s hippie-looking guy. And who in a million years would have thought that a guy that took a class in calligraphy would basically take the typography and how he actually puts the type how he types stuff would impact it in a way that it did. That's crazy.
And I get what you're saying. You're saying timing, the right people in place. You have
the
your
connector, the
salesman,
maven, and the
maven.
salesperson, which
but,
he was.
But a point to
really
Shannon, what she stated, would you agree with that? Is that other people were looking to invent the same product, their computer. But what actually caused Apple to go from here with everyone else to here, and everyone else is still here?
Appealing to the masses.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean
what
was the appeal?
I mean, the personalization. I mean, when I think back, I think it was in the 90s when they created the I don't know the official terminology, but the Mac, and it came in like 6 different colors. We bought a blue one. We were so excited to get a blue computer. They had blue, green, red, orange. It appealed to the masses. Was there any other computer out in the market that actually came in color? And to create a color, was it really that difficult? No. It's the little things. I mean, even thinking about the iPod and the evolution of the iPod, I went out in 2003 and spent a lot of money on the black and white.
Okay.
And then they went and created a color. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Jumped right on over there. It's creating to the appealing to the masses. I mean, and always being innovative. I mean, they never just would settle. They're always looking to make it better.
They're not afraid to take on that challenge. They're not afraid to dump a lot of money into a particular product that's not 100% certain that is going to take place. Now we're using Apple as an example, but that goes with any business who's revolutionize
Sure.
the industry. And
I mean, that's the most
product.
recent one, and that's the one that everybody's talking about now. I mean,
That's our era. That's our generation.
oh yeah, I mean, I remember when the stock was trading at 181. I think
Yeah.
it's around 600 now.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's amazing.
Whenever you guys get a chance, I don't know if you've watched it, but he actually did the commencement speech at Stanford, 2003, 2004, and he was talking about, his life and how, pursuing your passion and loving what you're doing and not being scared of failure, as you alluded, or was the key to him, and that when he actually got kicked out the Apple the first time, at first he thought it was, like the worst thing that happened to him, but it basically kind of put him in another creative state. And that, to me, that really goes back to the tipping point, right? Because when he went back to Apple the second time, that's what a lot of those innovations started coming at. Had he never got kicked out and went back and did the other things that he did, there may never
But
be.
that also, to me, without knowing the true entire story, that speaks on humbleness.
Yeah.
You get kicked out, you started, they boot you out, then they ask you to come back and you say, okay.
And he said you almost walked away from the whole thing.
Yeah.
So there's
Blow
a
to the
lot
ego.
of things that go into that. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
No, that's a phenomenal.
Well, ultimately, I mean, I think the main reason why we want to talk about this is because we want to get Jaynect out there.
Sure.
How do we create the Jaynect Group as a tipping point? How do we get it to the point where it starts to create within itself? I mean, right now we're sitting here discussing great successes of others, but how can we create and become a success within ourselves?
Stay innovative. Stay true to what we believe in. That's the most important thing.
Well, what do we believe in, though?
Growth, individual growth, individual mental growth. Thinking beyond, not just following the masses.
Yeah.
Wanting more.
Yeah.
That's Jaynect.
Yeah, certainly. Just being authentic. I think people, especially in this age, and we've had other conversations in other episodes as well, where we talked about, how social networking you lost the human touch, the human element.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what a lot of people want, and like these videos and like roundtables do, intimacy, it creates that human element. And that's what people are really looking for. And I think if you can find a way to convey that to people, then I think they'll gravitate to that. And if you can keep and innovate, as you said, and just keep on finding ways in which you can actually kind of create that for people, I think you have something.
I guess, and it's always good because within any organization, everybody's going to have their own personal point of view.
Sure.
Mine in particular is creating a voice for the young professional. How do we define the young professional? I think Jamar had actually did a little research on this. He said anywhere between maybe the ages of 25 to about 45, coming right out of college, going through the stages of life. And have you ever noticed, and I don't follow politics a whole lot, but they do break people up into categories,
Sure.
not just based on their religion or their ethnicity, but they break it up on age. And I don't really see a whole lot out there of organizations or people that are primarily focused on the opinion of the young professional. And that's where we fill in that niche. And that's where we can create that buzz and create that, oh yeah, these are young professionals that are coming out, staying on top of current events, wanting to give back to the community, but wanting to create a voice for the segment of the population that isn't quite focused on as much. And I think that's what I see when I think of Jaynect.
What about you, Jamar?
No, absolutely. I just feel. I mean, we can go days for this, but it's just a matter of, just like you said, kind of piggybacking what you alluded to. I think it's more important now than ever for us to really show our face, stand up, and say we have next, right? We see the bickering, we see what's going on in politics. We have next, and we don't want to stand for that. We want to begin working together now. That way we are acclimated with each other's differences.
Yeah.
So we can eliminate the foolishness of going back and forth and bickering and build stronger businesses. I mean, we're the elite for a reason. People want to come here and work with America for a reason. So as young professionals, we have to stay true to that.
And also being able to carry good conversations, controversial conversations, and be able to do it in a respectful, professional manner.